Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each week, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and tells us about, well, whatever they want to talk about. Today, I have with me Dave MacDonald. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well, Lee. How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. I forgot to ask before we started recording, do you prefer Dave or David?
Dave works.
Okay,
Thank you.
very cool. Okay, well, Dave, the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can discuss anything you want except your business. If you're successful, you'll have 5 minutes afterward to pitch your fool head off. But each time you slip up and talk about your business, you'll lose 1 minute of pitch time at the end. You ready?
I'm ready, man. Let's
All
go.
right. Well, let's go ahead and start the timer. And what are we getting into for the next 20 minutes?
The next 20 minutes is a passion of mine outside of work is home brewing and the craft beer kind of culture around it.
Okay. This should be
Yes,
good. Yes.
it's fun, man. So I randomly got into it like 10 years ago. My father-in-law gave me a homebrew kit for Christmas. And kind of ever since then, it opened up like a whole new world. I'm a big creative. I love the idea of creating something. And beer was an extension of that because obviously we enjoy a few pops now and again. But it's been amazing. Home brewing itself is a challenge. It's creative. It's fun. And then the culture of craft beer is like no other.
I'm interested in hearing about this culture because I know just enough about it to know that I don't know anything. But before we do that, I want to talk about like that first homebrew kit. How'd that first one go?
Amazing,
Really?
which is not normally what you would hear. The one thing when I got into it, people were like, you have to sanitize. If you don't sanitize, things can go terribly wrong.
Okay.
So I was incredibly neurotic with making sure everything was as clean as possible. So I think that's why it went so well.
You hit a home run the first time, so no wonder you were so excited about it. That's fantastic. My wife and I tried to make wine a few times, and all of them it was just a dismal failure. But
Was it tough?
yeah, well, it's just lack of patience more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, we got lucky. This first kit I had basically is a clone. So I brewed a Magic Hat #9 clone.
Okay.
So it's all the ingredients in Magic Hat #9. So you can't really screw it up. You're following a recipe at that point.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
but yeah, no, it turned out awesome.
Well, that's fantastic, and yeah, that's not something that I hear too often from people who try to brew or make wine at home. Usually, those first few
Oh,
experiences
there's
are
been some
dreadful.
mess ups.
Okay.
Because then you do the one and you kind of have a little bit of like, oh, I can do this. And then you get a little bit more creative with the next couple and you're like, oh, I mean, I've had some that taste like a sneaker and it's just, nope, got to dump that one.
Oh, we're 2 minutes in, and I think I just spit coffee. Or no, it's tea. Oh, well, it'll be all right.
That's great.
So, wow, very cool. You started to talk about the subculture before I derailed you. So, tell me about that.
Yeah, so that one is kind of twofold for me. So first of all, once I got into the home brewing, you just started to connect with people that liked to try to drink different beers other than a normal yellow beer, we would call it.
Okay.
So at that point, it was a lot of the culture was a lot of people that were trying to experiment. What's different? What can I try out there? I don't necessarily want to throw down 8, 9, 10 beers, but I like to go out somewhere and try 3 or 4 of them. Let's see what it's doing, how they can get all these flavors in. And then you get a buzz at the end, which is, a little kick extra.
Gotcha. Okay. So the experimentation is the big excitement for those people.
Yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
I had a personal liking to it because I had started a company years ago that was in the craft brew space. So it ended up falling in love with the people behind it. Because once you start talking to these breweries and brewers, they're fathers and sons, daughters and brothers, best friends, cousins that just get together and make this really amazing product, which has so much story in it. So for me, just I love that. I love walking into a brewery and you'll just see how they design a place. There's something about that means a lot to them. And then trying the different beers, you can get a feel for. Some of them will brew certain things because that's what the public wants, but then you kind of get a feel for what are their favorites and what went into that, how they screwed up, what was the amazing aha moment. So yeah, just I love sitting down with a brewer and just picking their brain.
Do you have any particularly memorable stories that you've heard that, inspired or impacted what you do as far as home brewing?
Um,
Or people that
the
you've met,
Yeah, the biggest takeaway I had is that these as much as the brewers like to experiment, they like to try and make different beers, big beers, as in boozy beers, or just unique ingredients. A lot of them also come back to like just what's a really good simple beer that they like to make. So a lot of them will drink like Kolsch's, which is a traditional German style beer, just something clean, crisp, nothing too fancy, but just really, really good and consistent. So that would be the biggest takeaway, is like it's fun to experiment and to explore, but it's also nice to come back to a nice little staple that you kind of can either you brew yourself or you pick yourself that you just enjoy. For me, it's a pale ale.
Pale ale. Okay.
Yeah, simple pale ale is something I really enjoy. There's obviously a lot of hazy IPAs. New England IPAs has been a craze for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. They were exciting at first, but they're getting a little old in my opinion.
Sure.
But just, yeah, nice, simple, clean, easy drinking beer is really nice.
I understand that. I understand. So I drink my coffee black for the same reason. It's just, it's getting the fancy stuff's okay once in a while, but it's good to have that staple.
Yeah, and coffee is very similar. You can try different black coffees at a couple different spots. You're tasting the same type of roasting / brewing process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, in experimentation, and I don't know if there are too many to list within the span of time we have here, but what are the main components that allow for experimentation? For somebody who doesn't really understand the brewing process.
Basically, you're going to be experimenting with different hops. Different hops are going to give off different flavors on the front end and the back end. That also will depend on when you are dropping the hops in the boil, whether you're doing on the first half or the second half. All that will just change flavor profiles of the beer. Okay. And then the sugars itself, because basically without sugar you have no beer. The yeast eats the sugar and essentially poops out alcohol, and that's how beer is made. So experimenting with the sugar can be kind of fun, because you can get a feel for whether you're going to throw some different fruits in there that are different sugar profiles they have, or some different extracts. I saw one of these local brewers up by us did a cinnamon toast crunch spice red ale. So he poured a few hundred boxes of cinnamon toast crunch cereal and was trying to get the flavor from that in his beer. And he was successful. It's actually a terrific beer. But it's fun.
100.
Yeah.
Wow, I can see trucking out of Aldi's with 300 boxes of cinnamon toast crunch or whatever. Wow, that had to be a sight to see. But I'm glad that it turned out fantastically.
Yeah, well, those guys are on a level. I'm nowhere near at, but it's pretty cool to see them take a random ingredient like that and successfully blend it into a product. So it tastes good. It doesn't taste gimmicky or fake. It flows well with the style.
Okay. So have you ever tasted somebody's homebrew that just kind of where it's at that different level and you're like, okay, I got to go back to the drawing board?
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who made just a really clean Pilsner, and it just, I don't know, the lack of better description, it tasted like a really professional beer, if that makes any sense. Okay. So sometimes with your homebrew, you're going to have a little bit of off flavors. Sometimes your carbonation won't really be where you need it to be. Sometimes it'll be a little too bubbly. Sometimes it'll be a little more flat. Yeah. But he brewed a beer that it's like, I would pay money right now for a pint of this. So that was really cool. So for him, it was just going back, and it was a lot about timing, a lot about temperature control as you're pitching the yeast, making sure that most of those stay alive, and then controlling your beer as it's fermenting, temperature, things of that nature.
Oh, okay. So there are a lot of variables in there that you have to keep an eye on, and even the slightest variations, as I understand it, can produce vastly different effects.
Yeah,
ruin the entire batch.
That's it. I mean, once you actually once you're brewing your beer with cold wort, and you're taking it off the boil, you need to get that down to a particular temperature before you pitch the yeast. And that varies depending on the type of yeast you're using. But if you don't, and you put that in too hot, it'll kill the yeast. And then without
Okay.
yeast, there's no beer.
Yeah, that's just yucky water at that point, I think, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, just mucky, yucky.
Oh, that's absolutely. Oh, I can't imagine that. It sounds absolutely dreadful, though.
It's tough, yeah.
Very good. So we've covered the a little bit about the culture. What else you got in terms of the home brewing industry, or anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah. Well, no, the like I said, the culture has been a lot of fun for me, and
Yeah.
brewing itself. But like I mentioned in the when you first reached out to me, for me, it's just a matter of getting out there in the world outside of your business and your work you're doing, and just what's fun with no agenda. I think that's so important as you're trying to build something, that you need to take a break from it, because it's just part of who you are. It's not who you are. Um, and I think a lot of people are missing that.
It's super important, and I can relate. And there have been times in my career as a copywriter where I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm so consumed by it, and there's just no room for anything else. And you run empty pretty quickly when that happens.
Oh,
It's
totally.
just you can't do your best work when you're in that constant state of stress.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely overlooked. Obviously, mental health is becoming a big topic now, which
Yes.
is terrific to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, even like on another scale, I'm a father. My wife and I have two little kids, 5 and 3, and we can't be the best parents to them without first being the best us. And I
Right.
feel like that's missed out a lot, because you gotta be true to who you are, what you like to do, experiment, explore that, to be fully in of what you need to be, whether it's business or being parent.
That is true. That is true. So, how do you balance all that out? How do you find that time and energy for you to recharge? And I'm not saying there's no right or wrong answer. I'm just,
Yeah.
as far as from your perspective, what's that look like in your world?
Well, it's definitely intentional. It's got to be scheduled in.
Okay.
So whether it could be something as commonplace as of meditating in the morning, or outside of the home brewing, I'm also outside of business work, I'm also in real estate as well. So I'm flipping a couple homes. So for me,
Okay.
that's another area of work that I really enjoy. That's more of a long-term wealth that we're working to build.
Okay.
But that's intentional. That's part of my week, that I need to get to my properties, and whether I'm fixing up or finishing a project here or starting something there, that work is also something that I like to unplug, and kind of takes another part of who I am building.
Okay. Okay. You talked about meditation. What's that for you? Are we talking, a traditional meditation? How do you have a specific practice that you prefer?
Yeah, I use I prefer guided meditation.
Okay.
I haven't gotten to the point where I can just kind of shut everything out, just listen to a little music or no music at all, and kind of just blend. I like being guided. There's a podcast that I listen to. I think it's called like Meditation Minis. It's a woman named Shell Hamilton, and
Okay.
she does just usually a quick little 5-minute thing, which is perfect for me and what I need. Um, and that does wonders. I know when I first started meditating, you couldn't do it, and then you went to a phase where I fell asleep, and you had to like set a timer so you're not sleeping through the day. But now we got into a good point when you get in a rhythm where everything kind of shuts down. You kind of enter this other realm of just relaxation, and then you can click back out and kind of refresh your day.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a topic that comes up with a lot of guests on here. It may just be because everybody tries it, or it may just be because that's the kind of people this show attracts. But it's everybody has a different interpretation
Yeah.
of what they consider. I talked to a lady a few episodes ago who said felt like she was meditating when she was kite surfing in Morocco.
Oh, totally.
So and just that being in the moment, and I've kind of almost come to the conclusion that anytime you're present and in the moment is meditation. So I mean, to me, what you do with home brewing,
Yeah.
That would be a form of meditation, because that's when you're not worried about what's going to happen or what happened, at your business this morning or whatever. You're there in that moment.
Yeah, no, it's they talk a lot about it. I don't know who coined the phrase, but when you're in flow state, when
Mm-hmm.
things are coming so easily to you. So, like your colleague that you're talking about with the kite surfing,
Mm-hmm.
I've always played basketball growing up, so I'm in a men's league as well.
Oh,
But
okay.
when I step on that court, it's like nothing else matters.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's work, whether it's family, nothing. When I'm there, it just kind of I'm so present. And it's that's I think you're right. I think that is also probably a form of meditation where you're in the moment and nothing else is kind of deterring you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that's become kind of a central thing for me, because I see so many people who think that it has to be this, they picture the monks on the, in the caves, and the,
Right.
the back's perfectly straight, and you think, and, you sit there and you try not to think. And it's like, what? You can't try not to think. That's not going to work,
Right.
because the thoughts that you're generating from trying not to think are thinking. That doesn't work. And so I see people get hung up on this, and I got hung up on it for years, of this, like, the mechanics of it, and really missing the point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I first was introduced to it in Taekwondo. And in fact, it was one of these things, like, for my first degree black belt, I had to do like a 4-hour meditation. And then for the second degree black belt, it was, I forget what, 6 hours or something. Grueling anyway.
Wow.
But it ended up, I ended up learning that, later, that, like, it really didn't do as much good as I could wanted it to, or that maybe it should have, because there was a goal at the end to get that
Okay.
black belt, to get that goodie, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so that changes the whole scope of the meditation. So I'm sorry, I got us off on that tangent, but that's one of those things I
No, but
like
it's true
talking
though.
about.
I think it just has to be something to just be still. Obviously, we're consumed by technology. I don't think anybody ever leaves the house without their cell phone on their pocket. I got the watch on my wrist, so you're always plugged in. So I think it's really healthy to take a couple minutes, whether it's basketball, kite surfing, drawing, meditating, home brewing, and just kind of just take a break from all that.
Mm, absolutely. So you got another 3 minutes to cover anything you want. So got anything
Okay.
else to throw at me?
To
You're,
keep
you're
going.
still on
Yeah.
the clock here. Yeah.
Well, like I said, this has been cool. My biggest takeaway, just for the people listening, was really just to know that it's okay to do something without any intention. And I think that's the cool part of this show that you put together, where it's exploring outside of business. Like, what else do we do for fun?
Mm-hmm.
That it's okay. Just because we're an adult doesn't mean we still can't play. I was talking to a woman this morning. We have a call set up next week, and I said at the end of our conversation, I said, "Happy Halloween." I was like, "But can adults say that? Is that okay to say?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely." But I think that's just need permission to go have fun, because doesn't all need to be about business all the time, despite this, hustle word that seems to be pushed out there so often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy how, especially in the West, how busyness has become that badge of honor.
Right.
It's just like, almost, if you're too busy for your wife and kids, and too busy to take vacations, and too busy this and that, then you're somehow more productive than everybody else. But those aren't generally the people who are creating.
No, it's a society thing too. I mean, I'm 34, so I grew up with parents that worked the 9 to 5 or longer, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the norm, and they did it for 25, 30 years with one company and retired.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm freelancing on my own. I really don't have a set schedule besides a couple of appointments that I make important throughout the day. And sometimes my parents look at me and they're like, "That's not what I did," but it's working for you, and they love it. They're happy for me and they're excited for me, but it's not what we were kind of grown up to see.
Yeah, same here. I'm substantially older than that, but
Fair enough.
yeah. But I did grow up in that. Yeah, it's 40 years, retire with the gold watch and the pension if you're lucky. And now we're like, what's a pension?
Right? What is a pension?
So I'd rather be out creating my own success. And you know what? I know you are too. And speaking of that,
Yeah.
you have just completed the After Dark 20-minute challenge. So hooray and confetti and all that.
Nice.
So I'm a man of my word, and because of that, I'm now giving you 5 minutes to talk about your business, tell people how to get in contact with you, whatever you want to do, man. The floor is yours.
I appreciate that, man. So yeah,
Sure.
so I created a company called Crafted 1K. It's taken a childhood dream of mine of cartooning and drawing cartoons and bringing it to light in a professional manner. So at Crafted 1K, we create custom cartoons to help you stand out in your content, whether that's your social online content or your internal messaging to engage your team and employees. Cartoons and visuals are a fun way to get away from text and kind of engage in a moment. So that's what we're doing. You can see me on Instagram. It's Crafted Dave. Or you can visit my website, crafted1k.com. You could sign up. I have a newsletter. It's my Saturday morning cartoons. So every week I'll create 3, 4, 5 different cartoons. And Saturday mornings at 8 o'clock, you get like a recap of all those cartoons. I loved reading the cartoons in the newspaper in the mornings on the weekends. So this is kind of my way to bring it back.
Yeah, that's really cool. I've already done some snooping on your Instagram. So,
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're
really cool stuff there.
Thank you, man.
That's cool, man.
It.
And we'll put all those links in the show notes too.
Cool.
So, we'll have all this so people can get in touch with you.
Awesome.
Anything else you want to tell the fine folks listening to Lee After Dark?
No, I appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in. And, like he's about, it's not all work. Get out there and do something fun.
I appreciate you going out on a limb and doing this today. I really enjoyed talking to you and learning about your experience with homebrewing. So it's definitely a different world.
Yeah, man. It's fun though.
Enjoyed listening to it, and we'll have to circle back with the cartooning because that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. I'd be happy to talk more.
Cool, man. So in the meantime, we are out of time. So if you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the Drac out there, give our hosts over at IPMNation.com some love or subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, iTunes, wherever the heck else we put this show. This is Lee Rowley with my new friend, Dave MacDonald. Until next time, be present and be well.